February 19th, 1942. While World War II rages overseas, the President of the United States signs a single sheet of paper, Executive Order 9066. Within months, more than 110,000 innocent Japanese Americans, men, women, and children, are forced from their homes, packed into trains, and sent to desolate camps behind barbed wire. And the man who authorized it is the same man millions today call one of America's greatest presidents, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. When we talk about FDR, we usually hear the same story: the president who lifted America out of the Great Depression, the man who guided the nation through World War II, the symbol of courage who fought polio and still inspired hope. But behind the speeches, behind the fireside chats, lies a darker story, one that few textbooks ever tell. This is the untold dark side of Franklin D. Roosevelt. Part 1. The hero who saved America. Let's start where every story about FDR begins: the Great Depression. When Roosevelt took office in March 1933, America was shattered. Banks were collapsing. Farmers were starving. Families stood in soup lines that stretched for blocks. And then came the words that defined a generation. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Through the New Deal, Roosevelt promised hope, jobs, reform, and security. Programs like the WWII, CCC, and Social Security Act put millions back to work and redefined the relationship between the government and the people. For many, he was a hero, a man of action in a time of chaos. But while the lights of progress burned bright for some, they cast long shadows on others. Part 2. The Internment of Japanese Americans. After Pearl Harbor was bombed in 1941, fear gripped the nation. Rumors spread of Japanese spies hiding in California, of sabotage, of betrayal. There was no evidence. None. Yet on February 19th, 1942, FDR signed Executive Order 9066. This single order authorized the military to remove anyone of Japanese ancestry from the West Coast. Entire families, U.S. citizens, were told to leave their homes with just days' notice. They sold their businesses for pennies, locked their doors for the last time, and were taken to dusty camps in places like Manzanar and Tule Lake. Behind the barbed wire, they slept in horse stalls, ate canned food. Guards watched from towers. Children pledged allegiance to the same flag that had imprisoned them. This wasn't wartime paranoia. It was racial prejudice at the highest level of government, and FDR approved it. Today, historians call it one of the worst civil rights violations in U.S. history. But at the time, most Americans cheered. Part 3. The Betrayal of Civil Rights. FDR built his political empire on a coalition: Northern liberals, working-class voters, and Southern Democrats, known as Dixiecrats. To keep them happy, he made a moral compromise, one that left millions of Black Americans behind. He refused to support anti-lynching laws, even as mobs murdered Black men across the South. Why? Because he didn't want to lose the Southern vote that kept his New Deal alive. The same government that built jobs for millions also built racial walls. Through federal housing programs like the Homeowners Loan Corporation, neighborhoods were graded by risk, and Black neighborhoods were marked in red. That red ink created redlining, the reason Black families were denied loans, denied homes, denied futures. Even the U.S. military, the army that fought for freedom in Europe, remained segregated under Roosevelt. Black soldiers were often given menial jobs, denied promotions, and treated as second-class citizens in a war for democracy. The irony was brutal. FDR preached freedom abroad, but couldn't guarantee it at home. Part 4. Power and control. FDR's charisma hid something else, a relentless hunger for control. His New Deal wasn't just economic reform, it was a massive expansion of executive power. When the Supreme Court struck down key New Deal programs as unconstitutional, Roosevelt didn't take it lightly. He tried to change the rules. In 1937, he introduced what became known as the Court Packing Plan, a proposal to add up to 6 new justices to the Supreme Court, all hand-picked by him. His excuse? To help an overworked court. But everyone saw the truth. Roosevelt wanted to stack the bench with loyal judges who would rubber stamp his agenda. Even his own party turned against him. The plan failed, but the message was clear. Roosevelt was willing to bend the Constitution to get his way. And that precedent, the idea that the president could wield near unlimited power in a crisis, would echo through history. Part 5. The Jewish refugee crisis. Across the ocean, Europe was burning. By the late 1930s, Nazi Germany's persecution of Jews was no secret. Synagogues were torched, families vanished, refugees begged for sanctuary. And yet, when ships full of Jewish refugees approached American shores, like the SS St. Louis in 1939, they were turned away. The U.S. government cited immigration quotas, bureaucracy, and public opinion. But behind those excuses was cold political calculation. FDR knew that accepting large numbers of Jewish refugees could ignite backlash among voters still struggling through the Depression, so he chose silence. As millions perished in Europe, America, under FDR, closed its doors, a dark silence that history will never forget. Part 6. The shadow of secrecy and control. Behind the scenes, Roosevelt also kept a tight grip on the media. He used his fireside chats to charm the public, but he also used censorship and propaganda to control narratives during wartime. The press rarely mentioned his polio because access to the White House meant loyalty. Photographers were told not to capture him in his wheelchair. He built the image of strength while hiding weakness, the illusion of openness while consolidating power. Part 7. Death of a Giant. On April 12, 1945, in Warm Springs, Georgia, Roosevelt collapsed while sitting for a portrait. He was just 63 years old. By then, World War II was nearing its end. The nation mourned. Factories stopped, radio stations went silent. For many, it felt like the loss of a savior. But in the quiet that followed, the darker chapters began to resurface. The camps, the red lines, the silence on lynching, the refugees turned away. His legacy, both light and shadow, was complete. Part 8. Reflection. The dual legacy. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was not a monster. He was a visionary, a man who reshaped America, built safety nets, and inspired hope when hope was gone. But he was also human, flawed, calculating, and sometimes cruel. His decisions lifted a nation and scarred generations. That's the truth about history. Heroes and villains often wear the same face, and Roosevelt's face, smiling from our dimes, immortalized in stone, reminds us of both what government can achieve and how far it can go when fear outweighs freedom. This was the untold dark side of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a leader who saved democracy and broke it in ways we're still repairing today. If you learned something new, hit that like button, subscribe for more Untold Dark Side stories, and let me know in the comments, was FDR a hero who saved America or a man who went too far?